Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. My name's Inefficient, and today we're going to work on automating chorus fruit and I guess chorus flowers as well. Overall, farm's pretty simple to build. There's not too much involved, just a little bit of redstone. There's a bit of a catch though, so let's talk about that before we get into things here. Okay, so what do I mean when I say we have a bit of a catch here? So if I hold down the place block button here and then I move across, you'll see it. No problem. It doesn't mind that there's blocks in between that I can't place crops on. It'll still allow me to place them all the way across. Conversely, with the flowers, yeah, it only plants once. I don't know why. Based on what I can tell, it's classified as a block instead of a crop. So I guess it's just comes down to that. Anyway, on screen here, you'll see I've submitted a bug report. So if you guys want to go over there and upvote that and help me get this fixed so that these are going to work just like a crop, that way this farm works a lot better and you don't need an auto clicker. For those of you that don't have an auto clicker today, I use OP auto clicker from I don't even know who it's from, sorry. Anyway, I'll leave a link in the description for that anyway. And then on PS4, there appears to be options. I haven't tested yet, so if I do come across any and I get a chance to test, I'll make sure I put a pinned comment down below. So my hope is that the bug will get fixed and this farm will work without the need for an auto clicker. You'll just be able to hold down the button. But for now, you will need the auto clicker, and yeah, let's get into it. So as you can see here, this is the sort of unique approach I took. I decided to use the snowmen instead of a whole array of dispensers. Because honestly, I hate that method, and I find it still inconsistent for getting enough flowers back. So this seems to be very consistent. I had initially only built half of it, and it was kind of back and forth. It wasn't quite giving me enough flowers back all the time. And then I kind of mirrored it on the other side to some extent here, as you see, and it works a treat now. Kind of breaks them a little low on this front side, but all in all, works out to about 5 stacks an hour, which is pretty good, all things considered. Down here, I've just got sort of a little room for all the output of the farm. We've got an off switch that will also reset the clock, so that obviously you have to give it a minute to go through its reset cycle, but every time you turn it off and then back on, you get the full timing of the clock, which can be a little tricky with hopper clocks. Alright, so this is everything we're going to need for the farm. I think technically we're going to need 18 coarse flowers, actually, because we're going to need to give one to the LA. So I'll put a list of all the materials down below. I'll have a Structura download as well, so I'll link to Structura if you want to go check it out, and there's a materials list there as well. However, the Structura didn't capture any of the entities, so that's why I've kind of got these down separately, and then it doesn't count any of the items inside of hoppers, so we'll get to that in a little bit, but you'll need 7 non-stackable items for hopper droppers, sort of filler items. In terms of space for the farm, it is 28. 21 long and then 18 high, and that's counting from that bottom block down there all the way to the top glass block. I've got it all encased in here just to keep the LA in, but of course if you build this underground or whatever you decide to do, the LA shouldn't go away. You can always tie them to a fence post when when you're not around or something like that, so you don't need to build up all the walls if you don't want to, but I just felt like it was better to keep them contained. In terms of the redstone for the farm, it's relatively simple. We've got a hopper clock and a counter and a pulse extender and a falling edge circuit over here, and really that's it. The reset circuit is down here at the bottom. That's going to reset it every time you turn the power off. Make sure that your clock is ready to go for the next use. In terms of space for the build, we are working with a little bit of switching minecart with redstone, and that does vary based on the direction you're going. So if you want to build it exactly as I have here, do take note of the direction. So your redstone will be on this side, this will be the innard, so it'll be set up in the exact same sort of orientation you see here, and that would be south facing that way to the back, north, and then east and west is where you have your doors. It's not overly important. There's only one part around here that you'd actually have to change, and that's this right here. But if you don't want to have to mess with how these rails are working, and you don't want to have to fuss with that, you just want it to work, take note of the direction here. All right, so to get started, we're going to come to the back corner here. So if it's going to build in the exact same orientation you see here. So from there, we're going to count in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we're going to go in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're coming in 9 and then 7. And that's where we're going to place our first chest. And then we'll head one more towards the opposite side. Should look like that. Okay, from there, we're going to come across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And that's going to be where we have our other one. Again, going back up the other way. So that's our starter chests, and we're going to build those up. Of course, if you wanted to bring these like over into one central area, you're more than welcome. I'm just going to keep it simple here. That is our storage in place, at least. All right, so from there, we're going to build up one more. We're going to come towards the far side, and we're going to go up by 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then on the other side, we're going to come up by 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. The reason I got this offset is just to make space for stairs and here, I'll show you real quick. Just to make space for the stairs and the lever for the redstone. Alright, so we'll do that same thing on the other side here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I'm going to build up some walls around these guys. We'll put in some stairs at the top. Because I do need rails to run over top on that side. So let's do that. On this side, it's just for symmetry. Now over from here is where we have our lever. Oops, what am I doing? Like so. Okay, so let's just fill this in and make it symmetrical for now. On the back side here is where we're going to pull out some redstone. I think we'll put this part in after. So let's actually start with the hopper clock here. So we're going to put in temporary hopper and then 2 that are facing into each other. Those are going to be directly behind these middle 2 on the side that we have all the space for the redstone. From there, we'll put in our comparators. And then blocks. And then we're going to bring the hopper clock to the side in this case. So we need some blocks here. And dust. And our pistons. Okay, so it's just a traditional hopper clock, but moved onto its side. Next up, we're going to do a dropper. So on the side that's going out by 9, that's where I've put in our redstone block, and that's where our dropper is going to go as well. We're going to put a hopper on top of that, and then a couple of blocks over here. Put in a comparator, and then one more hopper right here. So this is going to, in total, act as our clock. What we're going to do is put in 4 full stacks plus 20 items. And that's going to give us a 4-minute clock in total. And then 4 minutes times 3 items is going to give us a 12-minute clock. And we also need to put in 2 more non-stackables in here. So now that'll wait until the 3rd time this fires before it actually fires the system to flush all the plants. Next up, we want to put in one more piston right here with some obsidian on top. And the reason we're using a piston is that it has a special quality that it does not pass the redstone through to the dust that will inevitably be right beside it, even when it's powered underneath by a torch. So I can show you quick what I mean. We put a torch on there. That will turn off this torch, which is great. That's what we want. And it will not touch our redstone here. So that's very important. We can actually leave those in place because that's exactly what we're going to need coming around here next. So we're going to do a 4-tick repeater. And then we're going to build ourselves a pulse extender here. So we'll go 1, 2, 1, 2. Come up on this side, down here. We'll run some dust all around here. And then from this side, we'll just connect this dust. We'll do that like so. Next up, we should get our off switch in place here. So what we're going to do is put in a repeater right here. We're going to put in dust down below. This dust is going to get affected by this comparator here. So we're going to pop down here. It's the one area where we're going to kind of come down into the floor. We're going to put a redstone block with some dust on it. That's going to give us a constant power level 15 running into the side of our comparator, which means it only ever turns on when it's also got a power level of 15 from back here. And that just means it's going to ignore the signal that we're getting from the hopper clock, just keeping things nice and compact. We're going to run that into a 4-tick repeater. And then if I make some space for myself, we'll put in one more torch right down here. So just to move some stuff out of the way so you can see everything I just did there. There we go. So we've got off switch, repeater, running down into the dust, comparator, power level 15 into the side, 4-tick repeater down here. So now when we turn our off switch off, this is allowed to lock, and that's allowed to turn this into the proper counter that we need it to be. When the system is flushing the plants, it'll also flush all those items back down. That's basically the majority of the redstone here. So we're going to put in one more circuit here called a falling edge circuit. For those not familiar, it's just going to give us a single pulse when this goes off. So this signal will stay on for as long as this is on, and then when it finally turns off, in other words, when the water is now retracting, we want to carry a signal out to release the player to go plant more chorus fruit. So for that, we're going to put in an observer here looking at the dust. We're going to have a block down here. We're going to come out by 4. And these are all going to be 4-tick repeaters. I give a little bit of time for that water to fully retract before you release the player. And we'll run that up into a block. So now whenever this turns on, it's going to push up the piston here, and the observer's not going to be able to fire this until it comes back down. Alright, so from here, we're going to build our way up to our first set of pistons, as you can see there. So for that, we're going to come up by one more block, one more after that, a little staircase, dust up 1, and then here is where we're going to have our torch that you can see right there. So this is actually what's going to power the entire line. We'll put that in here, run that across the same, I guess in this case, 8. So do that together here. From where I am right here, out 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Should match up with your hoppers. And then the other side would be 9. It doesn't really matter. Just match it up with the hoppers. And then we're going to run some dust right over top of all that. Front side, we'll grab our pistons back out and run these right across. Below those, we'll have solid blocks. And then we'll come down one more from there. We'll get back to doing that part after we finish the redstone over here. Next up, let's get our items into the hopper clock here. So we're going to grab, doesn't really matter, it just has to be full stacks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 20 items. So let's grab 20. That is our clock. Let's just turn that off so it's not going back and forth as we're building here. Next up, let's grab a little bit of glass and just throw those on top so we don't accidentally have anything falling into our hoppers here while we're building the rest of the farm. Similar, we should probably put in a little bit of glass here and there to make sure nothing spawns down here either. Good. Oh, quick correction actually, sorry. We're gonna just move everything forward here a block and put a block there. There we go. Next up, we're going to bring our signal down. So that's going to come across by 2 blocks like so. Point us into another block here. We're going to have a torch on this side, block, and then one more torch right here. The block on top of here is where you're going to be sitting, waiting in between all the cycles. Let's put in a little bit more glass here. Okay, so that's it for basically all of the redstone for the farm. We're also going to have to run a line down to the pistons that'll be in the middle, but for now, let's get into building our platforms. So we're going to come down from here by 1. I'm going to grab out some sea lanterns, get my redstone ready. You know what, I'm going to put sea lanterns in the corners. And then we're going to come out by 8. So it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Should bring you right to your hoppers. Again, I'm going to put some sea lanterns in the corners. Let's build that all the way across. Okay, next up we're going to take some redstone blocks, replace these ones here for some powered rails, and then we're going to start coming across with our blocks and our endstone. So that's going to be, what is it, 2 on one side and 3 on the other. So we'll put in 2 block gap, endstone, 1, 2, 3, endstone, 1, 2, 3, endstone, 2, 3, endstone. And then on this side, you should have a 3 block gap. From there, we're going to have a 2 block gap in between all of the endstone, and then we're going to just pick sort of the opposite trajectory here. So in this case, it'll be 2 on the side of the back row. Otherwise, in the middle, we'll keep it 3 apart. So 1, 2, 3, endstone, 1, 2, 3, endstone. And then on this side, we should have 3 this time, right? And that way, when we're going around on our rails, we can easily, click this one, and then when we move around to the next set of rails, we'll be able to hit the next one as well. Next up, we'll just fill all that in. And a quick overview from above. From here, you're going to want to bring up some walls on the sides because you don't want to make sure your items are falling down into the water and getting collected. So I'm going to do that out of glass. Of course, you can use any block you like. Now, this is going to be the spot where we're sitting, so I'm going to come out by 1 from there. And then just make my walls all the way around. Oh, sorry, the wall's going to be 11 tall. I guess that's worth mentioning. 11 tall for these. And then you can connect that with a roof if you really want to. Or you can just leave it open to the sky, and you might get a couple that grow a little extra tall. Again, just got to worry about potentially losing your relay there, so that's something to consider. Okay, next up, let's think about where we're going to be putting our snowmen in place. Easiest way to start that is to put in our back wall, though, I guess. Hold on. Let's get that in. All right, for the next part here, I'm going to switch over to using some blocks for the parts that we're going to put our snowmen on. And we're going to come up by 2, so 1, 2, and then out by 1. And then we'll just skip a block, put them in all the way across. We'll put in blocks here beside them. Make sure they don't run away. And then the blocks above. Next up, let's get some trapdoors out. And we're going to want to put these in the front side. Oop. And that's our first line of snowman cells in place. So let's go ahead and do that again just above. All right. Now, of course, you guys will be using the actual pumpkin method, and that's going to make it a little tricky to get them to actually stay in place. So you might have to temporarily just build this up, one more high, and then we can grab our snow and our pumpkin, and then put the roof block and clear out those temporary blocks. For me, it's a little easier because I'm in creative mode, so I'm just gonna cheese it. And there we go. So that's 18 snowmen in place. Right, let's get the rest of the floor in place for here, which is going to be a 4 wide in total. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, like so. And then we'll punch out some space here for our staircase going upwards. There we go. It should do nicely. You can leave this open for yourself so you can get into the redstone if you want to. For me, I'm just going to close it up. Next up, we're going to take these 2 platforms and build them all over again over here. So let's start off with our 1, 2, 3. This is where we'll be riding our minecart around to place the items. Place the course for flowers. And then we can kind of come up from there. On the sides, we'll go back to using some sea lanterns. And that'll come right over to where we finished here. Sea lantern. Redstone block. And we'll get that one in over here as well. On the back side, we can just put that directly in the floor, so that's what we'll do. And over here, we're going to need one more right there. Next, we can get in our rail line, I believe, that'll take us from one side over to the other. All right, so to do that, we're going to take these 3 blocks and bring them all down by 1, like so. We're going to extend this all the way across, and then back up. We want our curved rail or our slanting rail to be right here, and that way when we come back around, we can just drop down on, we know we get sent back, which is perfect. The reason we're jumping down over here is so that we don't interact with our pistons that are going to be above us as well, just in case you're curious. Let's grab our rails. Right, so we're going to have powered rail here. Bring that over, around. Just put in 1. I guess you can probably put in more powered rails, but the faster you go, the less reliable your auto clicker is going to be. So I recommend just putting in enough. Now on this point over here, we're going to have detector rail. Oh, sorry, actually, we need to go back 1 more block. Apologies. So it's a bit of an L shape here. Now we're going to have our detector rail. Powered rail, just give us a little boost, and then we'll bring ourselves around the corner. This side here is just kind of dead space, so you know what, we may as well put this as powered rails the whole way along. And then back to just 1 over here. Okay. We'll put in a block right here to make sure we don't go flying off the edge. And that should almost do it. Last thing we're going to need is a couple blocks right here, which, think of it, we should have a redstone block. There's a reason I put this part in last as well, just because if you would have put this in first, this rail would mess with you a little bit. Let's come back here and give this some power. And we should be all set on the rails. Just hover around, give you a quick overview. Alright, let's wire up this detector rail here. So we want to make sure this flips as we're going past. And we can do that pretty quickly with a redstone torch and a piece of dust. Now whenever we come by, it'll flip this rail over that way. And when we come back, it'll send us right back where we belong. Let's get the floor in here. So sort of the same rules that we followed over here. We'll come out by 3, grab our end stone. 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. 2 block gap, and then the 1 block offset. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And there we go. So now when we're riding around on this side, it'll be the sort of the same picture that we're seeing on the other. Let's fill that in. Let's get our pistons in next. We're going to have these sitting basically right above here. In a, very awkward spot as you walk up here, but sort of, it's an is what it is situation. So we'll build that all the way across now. Let's grab some buttons and some trapdoors. For convenience here, I'm also just going to place some temporary blocks. And these trapdoors will never actually open, so it doesn't really matter which direction. We just want that to redirect our water without completely obstructing us as we're coming by, trying to look at the blocks over here. Okay, we'll do some buttons on the bottom side of these to make sure they don't leak out water everywhere. And again, they're just cheaper and make it a little more accessible up here. We'll grab some blocks right across here. And this is going to be what we connect up with over here. So let's run a line across. Run this until we run out of power. A couple of blocks, repeater. And then we'll bring that across. Put in a block here. Try and make sure we don't end up with any gaps in the walls if we do want to wall this all in. That way this will block the gap. We can come all the way across. The last 3 we'll have to power slightly differently. So we'll just put in our little repeater setup. And just like that. Let's get rid of our temporary blocks now. And we're all set. Let's do the walls. I'll do that off camera. I'm just going to fill in all of the glass here for the walls, and then we'll come back and do another quick run through of putting in the pumpkin man. Alright, so that's our back wall in place, and just to show you quick, this back wall comes up 2 blocks back. So rails, 1 block, then the back wall. Okay, just from there I've sort of just walled in all the rest of it. With the objective being to keep our lay inside. Right, so let's get our snowmen in place. So going on over here, we want to make sure we're getting them at the same level, which 2 blocks above here. So I'm just going to eye it along here. There we go. That works. It's the scientific way. Alright. Yeah, maybe it's easier to just fill the whole line in and then break it after. Or it would be even more easy to use a big brain. Just put the snow in. Now I'm thinking. Big brain. You know what? Let's test. I wonder if I can quickly build this guy. Yeah, before he jumps out. Not bad. We've got all of our snowmen in place. You'll notice I actually offset them, so I didn't actually do that on purpose, but it's probably a good idea that you do that. So I got the gap on that side, and then the gap on this side. All right, next, I think it's time to talk about the zombie. So he's got to be going around in a circle here, so that each side will start shooting at him. I tried to have him just in the middle and squeeze everything closer, but this is sort of the best I could figure out. So let's get that in place now. We're going to come up by 4 above here. So 1, 2, 3, and on the 4th is where we're going to have our track for the zombie to whip around. That's going to be 4 long, sort of starting from the back redstone, extending 1 past the piston in the middle. And then we can connect that all the way across. And then we're going to want to have a roof for our zombie so he don't burn. And then we need to power this. We'll just put in a couple of random blocks underneath here with some torches, or if you wanted to, you could just put in some redstone blocks. Whatever works. Then our powered. Similar fashion to why you want to go slow for the player to make sure you get the placement everywhere. You want the zombie to go a little bit slower as well to make sure that the snowmen are kind of firing more straight across this area, getting better coverage of the snowballs. From there, let's just throw some glass on top of all of the solid blocks. And at this point, we can cover this whole thing up with a roof. Alright, so that is just about it. Let's go get our zombie in place, and then we'll talk about turning it on for our first time. Perfect, so the zombie will go around and around and around. Snowmen are going to try and shoot at him. They're going to end up hitting off all the flowers for you. And our allay is going to pick up those flowers, and he's going to bring them back to us. Alright, so I'd say we're ready to do our test. Oh, actually, no, we're not. We need this to be a solid block. Otherwise, that won't bounce us back out of there, and this whole thing will stop working. So, solid block there. And I think we're now ready. So, I'm going to quickly... I guess I'll plant first, and then I'll turn it on. And then we'll do a quick time lapse and show you how it replants. To get over to this side in survival mode, maybe I should have done that instead of flying. Hold on, I'll show you on the way back. You just got to follow the minecart track, and you can't get over there. So that's the initial plant. We'll turn on the farm now. We'll just keep 1, and then put ourselves into survival mode. Next up, we gotta get lined up. So I'm gonna drive around here and make sure you're lined up so that you can place the blocks where you need them. Turn on your auto clicker, and now you go AFK. So I will be back in 12 minutes, and we'll see the results. And there we have it. 24 in total, so more than enough to replant and keep yourself going. So it's a nice self-sufficient, a nice self-sufficient farm. Well, there you have it, guys. Fully automatic, or at least, semi-automatic coarse fruit farm that's fully self-sufficient and doesn't require an absolute ridiculous amount of dispensers, which is also a bonus. So make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.